What is up, everybody? It's me, Duke Farley, back at it again here on Lost at Sea. And we are talking a little Ascendance Live Season 3, Episode 11. And I am joined again tonight by Season 1 winner, Edmund. What is up? How have you been since we last spoke?
Pretty good. Since the last time we spoke, I became a four-time finalist.
Jeez, just racking those up, huh?
No, right. The villain of the season once again. But I had an amazing time. I did the live mini. I met a lot of the Ascendance alumni that I didn't get to meet from seasons 2 and 3. So that was really fun. Also just meeting those people gave me like a completely different perspective on like their character behind the screen. So seeing that all play out is cool. And yeah, just vibing, working. Got promoted,
Surging.
so that's good.
Oh,
Surging.
congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you. The fact that they trust me with a key to an establishment is mind-blowing, but
But anyways, let's talk about this episode here, Edmund.
hmm
Rory, fan favorite, I think, right? Going home. Um, what did you think of Rory and his just fun energy this season?
You know, one, I have to clear up something about Rory because in the last pod, I said people were avoiding him because of his mustiness. I did not mean mustiness. I meant messiness. I was a little tipsy on the last pod, but that was something Matthew Papa caught. So I had to clear that up. Number one.
Too
Number
many
two,
surges.
Rory, yeah, Rory was actually growing on me. Like the past couple episodes before the last two, I was like, okay, you know what? Rory's like kind of finding his footing, kind of figuring out the game. And I don't know like what happened from nighttime to morning time. Maybe it's the no sleep, but right when Rory woke up, Rory was spiraling. So I think Rory, I was waiting for Rory to dig his grave tonight. That was who my predicted boot was for the episode. So
It seems like he ran out of gas. I think he said it too. He
for
kind of just
sure,
ran out of gas.
he didn't have the stamina for the end game, which like now is the time that you really have to have that mental check in and push yourself to get to the end if you really want to win.
Yes, and I think it was the appropriate time here for Rory to make an exit. Early to mid jury, I thought was a good showing for him. He missed the jury in his org season, so I'm happy that he was able to be a part of this jury. And I loved his exit, super positive, group hug, everything. But let's talk about first of all, oh, doggo.
A
This is Harper. We are
dog
dog
sighting.
watching. We are dog watching. That's why I'm not in my regular apartment, but
Hey, Harper.
she's just posted up. So let's talk about Final Nine. The three captains
hmm
are not safe. Is that a little
hmm
crazy? Was that the same thing that happened in season one? I don't remember. I feel like captains not being safe usually don't happen in Ascendance maybe once a season, right?
Yeah, no. Final nine for our season, it was me, Mark, and Sarah that won the team challenge. It was sequence, but we were all safe. And I was the quote on wait, was I the no, I don't think it was that round. But we were all three of us were safe. I
Mhm.
don't think there even was captains that round, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, we usually don't see it where captains are not safe. I feel like maybe this
hmm
this is the second time this season that's happened, but I remember well anyway, the three captains, it seems like Sarah is starting to form this competition threat level. People are talking about her.
hmm
Came one away from the perfect answer, I guess, from this competition. I was tough to follow what was going on in the competition, I'll say, but
hmm
she destroyed it, right?
For sure. And coming from someone who didn't study all-nighter and got 0 points, it's kind of funny also that Josh did not study at all and won captain. So that was kind of cool to watch also.
Yeah, it seems like it was even if you didn't watch, you could win.
Right.
Um, what did you think of the this just like the breakdown of one team wins and then the other two will go to elimination? Another joint here, only six people, and Josh, the winning captain, is the seventh vote. Narrow numbers here. late.
narrow numbers, and it's just interesting because, like, I guess the incentive of winning captain, even though you're not safe, is to kind of form a majority, but you're also not controlling the other two captains' picks. So, like, it's pretty obvious that it's going to be a joint elimination. So, I just don't think I would want to win captain here, in all honesty.
Yeah, it seems like I would lean towards that as well. You're not safe. You're picking captains, but you're kind of assuming that it's going to be another team going with you that you have no control over.
Right, which is kind of why I was worried about Sarah doing so well in that competition because I think people were already starting to bring up the her and Ozzy thing. So since Ozzy kind of already has this like competition threat stigma, building that on top of Sarah with the perceived duo, that's not going to be good for them moving forward.
Yeah. And so her team loses as well as CJ's team or
Mhm.
not CJ, but Marcella's team. So they go to the joint. Obviously, Rory, it kind of everything falls on him. But I thought, I know that you have Taylor over right now. We kind of got a glimpse into
Mm-hmm.
people clocking Taylor here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is something I definitely noticed.
So let's get into it. We see a conversation with Marcelo and Rocky talking about, bringing in, wanting to form something, and that being potentially with Sarah and Ozzy and Taylor being a fifth, but they don't want to go to the end with Taylor because they would vote for
Mm-hmm.
Taylor if they were in the end with her. So a little alarming here. This is the first we are hearing of her name, right?
Yes, for sure. Which is going to be interesting because I don't know if this is just Marcelo and Rocky trying to start forming that perception so that way they can like um conserve themselves in the game. But it's going to be interesting to see which way their loyalty actually pivots in the end. Because I still think they're going to be loyal to Taylor. So we're going to see if Taylor has more social capital than the other two. But honestly, those three are my final three right now. So
I thought Marcelo had a great episode this episode.
for sure, for sure. He's getting his finalist edit. I really feel like Marcelo is in the end game for sure.
He's got a little something with Sarah, right? This he's got
Mm-hmm.
he brings up the priority from all the way back in episode one. I guess he's doing
Mm-hmm.
a little callback there with CJ and Sarah, and then he also has. It seems like he's making final twos of this round with people. He's got something with AJ. He's got something with Rocky. A lot going on.
Marcelo's doing it at the right time. This is definitely the time to start making those deals so that way you have those relationships to make the moves you want to make when you get farther on down the line. So sorry about the door slam, but I
BK.
think Marcelo's definitely doing it. Yeah, BK. But Marcelo's definitely doing it at the right time. And it's very
Yes,
smart.
yes, and I think, and nobody's really clocking him for doing it either.
Mm-mm. Him and Taylor were kind of in the same position, but now with Rocky and Marcelo debating it, it's really showing who Marcelo is as a player. Because he wants that spot that him and Taylor are fighting for.
Um, the counter name to Rory this episode was basically CJ. And
Mm-hmm.
CJ mentions in his voting confessional that he thinks maybe that voting out Kira was the wrong decision. Do you think that he's right?
No, because if it wasn't Kira, it probably would have been CJ. So like he would have been gone.
That's a good
But I
point.
think it's showing that CJ is willing to do whatever it takes to get to the end. I know there was some conversation about if CJ's an underdog or not. But at this point, I do think he is, because he's having to scrap from the bottom to get to the next round, and he's doing it successfully. And so, like that kind of story arc building episode to episode is giving me the underdog vibes right now, just because by the end game, you don't really remember half of what happened in the beginning. Um, so the whole CJ was running the game, no, not really, in my opinion. So I think seeing CJ fight round around and getting by round around is actually pretty impressive. And he made the moves he needed to make to get to the next round.
You mentioned like the beginning of the game doesn't really matter too much once like people are deciding who's going to win. Do you think that really all the like stuff that CJ did early on, like driving literally the first vote and a couple of the other um first eliminations, do you think people aren't going to take that into account if he makes it to the end?
I think it adds to his story arc. He can start with, I started off on such a high and I got very low, but I showed you that I could get back to that high place and work my way up. And I have the capability to do that as a player. Do I think his moves in the beginning have weight? No, but I think it has weight in his story arc as a whole on how to sell himself as being the winner of Ascendance Live Season 3.
And what do you think about Josh? Josh seems like he's put himself a little bit out on an island here. He kind of is trying to
Mhm.
get Rory to vote for Rocky with him, but Rory doesn't want to. Um, and it seems like his cards are all out in the open, but nobody's really picking them up right now.
Yeah, which is why I think Josh is in more trouble than CJ because I think CJ you can see is trying to do damage control, but in a better way than Josh is. Josh is just kind of like still sneaky, still just saying, do this with me, do that with me, make this move with me, make that move with me, but it's never about a future, like how to work together moving forward, which is what I think CJ is doing better at. So I'm kind of worried for Josh, especially with his past two episodes.
Yeah. Seems like nobody kind of now everybody's open knows what's going on with him. Doesn't want to
Yeah,
work with
people
that.
still find him untrustworthy, and not that like everyone trusts CJ, but CJ's still kind of presenting himself in a way that makes him seem trustworthy and like worthy to take along.
So do you think that this 5 person thing is going to be what kind of steamrolls the outsiders of the game, and kind of controls the next couple bits?
Personally, I hope so because these are the five people I want to see make the end. It's kind of weird how people aren't including AJ in their long-term plans anymore, like they were before, which is kind of puzzling to me. Um, but I think if that is the five that steamrolls per se, it's a great position for Marcelo.
Yeah. Who do you think it's not a great position for?
Probably Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think Rocky, with how things went down in season two, um, with him bringing like his strongest allies to the end and then being cut by them, I think he's gonna want to like have that move where he makes the move first before his allies make the move on him, which I think is why he was starting to lay that groundwork this episode when discussing what Taylor's position was in the game currently.
Yeah. Also, Rocky, I thought had a great episode because his name was briefly out there, not really, but briefly out there. And it seemed like he was the only one that really put up any effort into not voting out Rory because they kind of shared that half idol and he kind of trusted
Hmm.
Rory. But once he kind of read the room, he kind of just let it go,
Yeah.
which is smart, I think.
Um, yeah. See, I love a good pop off. Let's talk about the pop off from last episode.
Let's,
But there's a time and place for it. And I think Rocky didn't do it intentionally. I think Rocky was completely overcome with his emotion towards the game and how much he cares about it, to where him being betrayed like that, especially with him and Josh's history, um, he just felt like completely betrayed and had to like stick up for himself. But I think it was a good time for Rocky because Rocky was in a great position, but now he's bringing attention to his name, but he still has the social capital to kind of do damage control and die down his name being brought up, just so that way people can't say, oh, well, Rocky's name hasn't been brought up, like how they're talking about Taylor this episode.
yeah,
So I think it was the right time for Rocky to kind of have a blow up, whether it was intentional or not.
yeah. Do you think that Rocky's just going to gun for Josh now?
See, but that's why Rocky I think, will still be fine because he always has that when people are like, you need to throw out a name. He always has something to fall back onto without exposing the other people he's working with, which is basically everybody.
Right.
So he always has that one name that he can say, this is my target, this is who I'm going to go for. So people aren't wondering where his head is at.
So I know that you mentioned the final 3 that you would like being Marcelo, Taylor, and Rocky.
Mhm.
Do you think that that's the final 3 that we're going to get?
Right now, yes.
Here we are
I'm
at
like,
final eight, right?
yeah, like Ascendance, I'm crazy about Ascendance. It's just, I love scenarios, I love math problems, percentages, statistics. I kind of do it all in my head and I say I'm like so smart, but I don't have like spreadsheets and all that. Too lazy for that. But based on all the scenarios right now, I think the biggest possibility is a Taylor and Marcelo final two, but it's going to come down to who wins those final competitions.
Yeah. So you think so let's just walk through it real quick. The final five that we've seen kind of put the groundwork in today briefly. Say they lock
Hmm.
something in. The outsiders are looking like CJ, AJ, and Josh at that point.
Hmm.
When do we think that? So, say Josh, public enemy number one, and then maybe CJ gets eliminated. Do we think that that final five breaks up before final five, or do we think that they go try to go to final five?
Yes, but I think if they target one of CJ or Josh, they're going to get AJ before they get the other one, just because they want to preserve that target in the game to cover themselves, that shield per se, to where AJ is like the smart move to make or like the blind side to make. If that five actually comes together, I don't know how solidified that five is going to be though. But I could see it happening, but I can see it being messy.
Yeah, yeah, because it seems like Sarah is the Sarah and Marcelo are the big connection to CJ in the game. So nobody really has any connection to Josh other I mean Sarah kind of, but and then AJ, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if that final five can come together with the other three because of the different connections that those five have with the outsiders, you know?
I don't think that's going to be final five. I think Taylor is probably going to want to make a move on Ozzy and Sarah before that,
Yeah,
in my opinion. And Taylor's going to know that she probably has AJ's vote to make that move.
right.
So that's when the whole conversation with Marcelo and Rocky comes into play is like, which way do they swing? So that's what I'm excited for. That's the war I'm building up in my mind right now. Because I'm at this point, there's a few people that I just think I can tell are not going to win. To where now I'm like, okay, let's get to like the end game. I want to see them battle each other for the win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think these I mean at this point I could see anybody left if they get to the end having a chance to, really plead their case.
I
But
agree.
I feel like some paths are getting a lot less shout, not less whatever.
Yeah, like I think everyone definitely has a case. I just don't know how much of a chance each person has to get there. I just think there's some people that I just know their paths are
Drawing
ending
dead.
soon. Yeah.
Well, shit, Edmund. Another great episode. Anything else that you want to talk about before we conclude this one?
Who
Pleasure
is
having
your
you
winner
on.
pick right now, Duke?
Mm, I think I mean last week I was big on Taylor, but now I'm getting a little worried from this episode. So I think I might pivot that. I don't know. I want to say Marcelo, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like I would have seen more of Marcelo throughout the edit in the beginning of the game if he was the winner. But that's reading way too much into it. He's turning on at the
No,
end.
I agree. I think with these past two rounds, I think even with Taylor's original edit, it kind of seems like Taylor was kind of spearheading this move against Kira. But I think seeing Marcelo take the momentum of the move they made last round and still kind of further his position in the game, it's definitely giving him a way better edit and a way better chance because it's giving him a case to sell in the end. And it's just about if he can do that. Um, Marcelo's definitely up there for me. My top three right now are probably Taylor, Marcelo, and something in my gut is telling me Ozzy, but I think Ozzy's gonna get sixth or fifth.
Yeah. I also don't want I was between Marcelo and Sarah, to be honest with you, because I
Really?
there's something about Sarah's position right now that I really, really do actually like. Kind of her connection with the people that aren't in what was mentioned as the five. I think she has the strongest pull of the outside. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then again, it seems like maybe she's not going to use those connections that she has, specifically with Josh and CJ. Because I could see her like next episode just kind of going with this five and
Mm-hmm.
letting those side connections go. Where I feel like if she were to kind of maybe use Ozzy and the other two, being CJ and Josh, I think that would be more better for her. But I don't know if she
Yeah.
sees that.
My thing about Sarah is that, like I said, I think if these people are smart, they will start to push the perception of Ozzy and Sarah as a duo. And I do think Sarah stays in that scenario if one of the two, or Sarah goes home if that was the scenario.
Yeah,
Just because I think Sarah has a strong grasp, but I don't know how much she's taking advantage of that grasp. And she seemed a little panicky right when like the vote starts, you know what I mean? And they're like doing discussion time, but then she kind of realizes like, okay, I'm good. Let me like kind of cool it. That's
yeah,
like kind of what I noticed with this episode. So I'm worried that when Sarah's name is actually out there, that she'll kind of pull a Rory and just kind of freak out. And then people are like, oh, I don't know if she's level-headed enough to work with till the end. That's my worry with her.
yeah.
But I do think Sarah definitely has been killing it. It's just about not getting into her own head.
Yeah, and with her being involved with a lot of like close, like her name's been out there a couple times. Like I could see her eventually
Yeah.
pulling a Rory at some point.
But especially with like how it's getting so close to the end, how anxious people are getting, how sleep deprived they are, you know what I mean? You're really gonna start to see the real sides of these people. Granted,
Yeah,
I think we saw it in Rory earlier on, but I think these people are beginning to crack under the pressure of the game. So it's gonna be cool to see who really has the mental strength to push themselves to the end.
yeah. Rory, I think, needed to grab Rocky's Red Bull. I think that's what it was.
Honestly, the Red Bull I drank before the final competition did not help me in my season. So that's just made my anxiety way worse.
Well,
But I love me a good Red Bull.
yes, Red Bull's great. Well, thank you, Edmund. I think this is we've kind of covered everything,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if we will talk before the end of the season, but I would love to hear your thoughts on how this all shakes out.
Oh, I'll send you a message.
All right, dude. Appreciate you.
Thank you.